How are you feeling today?
I think I'm still like in an adrenaline rush. Like that's something that the therapists had said to us, and like I'm still a bit of shock, and also I'm just feeling a bit angry because like I personally was not injured from the attack. Like I was scared for my life, but I know that my professor and two of my classmates were injured.
What happened?
So our class it's called gender issues, but it's like philosophy of gender, and we had been going through one of the course readings, and we had just finished that, and the professor wanted to talk to us about the course project for the term. So it was towards the end of the class, and a man came in with a backpack. He said to the teacher, like, "Oh, is this such and such psychology class?" And the professor replied, "Oh, no, you're probably in the wrong class." Then he said, "Oh, what class is this?" The professor replied, like, "This is a gender class or philosophy of gender class." The man then replied and said, "Oh, can I stay?" The professor then said to him, "We need to continue our class. Could you please leave?" And while the man was listening to her reply, he put down his backpack in front of him at his feet, and he pulled out a knife. And it still had like one of those like sheaths or covers on it, like a plastic one. And the thing that disgusts me the most is that this vile, mischievous smile that he had on his face, and immediately the professor's face like just turned to like pure fear, and also the other classmates were like starting to scream. He raised the knife and started chasing the professor. She ran down the middle of the classroom. So our classroom is like a rectangle, but there's only one entrance at the front where the man had entered. And she ran to the back of the class. At this point, it was just pandemonium. Everyone was screaming. And what I remember was just being near the front row, sitting in fear, thinking, what's going on? My professor was running in the back, being chased by this guy, and the whole time I don't think he said anything. He was just chasing her, and I thought in the heat of the moment I need to like at least attack him or injure him. So I grabbed a chair right as he cornered the professor in the back of the room and threw a chair at him. And when I threw the chair, I remember seeing the professor was like on the ground covering her face and screaming, and I threw the chair. And then the next thing I know, I was running outside with a bunch of the other students, and I was screaming to them, like, get out of the building now. Because, like, don't be in the building, just leave. Eventually, it was me and I think, three other students, all girls. We ended up fleeing out of one of the Hagey Hall entrances, the main entrance for the theater. And we were running down like a set of stairs, and we saw two maintenance workers and started screaming at them. There's a man with a knife attacking our teacher, call 911. And at this point, I realized I had left my phone in the class. But thankfully, one of me and the other students, like, she had her phone with us, and we then called 911. And then me and the people who were not like crying hysterically, we started screaming at anyone we saw walking towards the building, don't go in, like go home, and call 911.
Did you see him injure these people?
No.
Did you see her get injured?
I witnessed the initial moments when he began stabbing the professor while she was on the ground in the back of the room. I only know about the injuries from the testimony of the other students once we had gathered in the crowds with the police and paramedics. Once we were outside and we had gathered with other like people from the street and all like, cool down period with each other, we were sitting on the lawn near like Hagey Hall, and I think that's the career center building, and that's where all the cops had parked in the ambulances and the SWAT team. I saw like the man, like based on the figure and the color of his clothes, in cuffs with two officers escorting the attacker to a car. That's all I saw. But I got a view of his face when he was in the class, because he was at the front of the class talking to our professor.
Police say this was a gender issues class. Police believe he was motivated by hate. Do you agree with that?
Honestly, I think that's the truth. Now, I say that because, like, as I described when the man entered the room, the sort of distraction questions he sort of asked, like, is this a psychology class? Now, if someone is lost and they're told this is such and such class, they would probably leave because they are looking for their psychology class. But the fact that his body language changed when the professor answered that this is like the gender philosophy class, that I think this was motivated.
Why?
And by like hatred of transgender people and queer people in general. If I may speak my own opinion about this for a bit.
Sure.
So in the last few years, there's been a lot of social stress and anxiety over the treatment of like transgender people in society, ranging from, you know, like decent acceptance, the same way like gay people like me are being treated, versus the sort of double speak that you will hear certain social conservatives say about they don't want gender ideology being taught to children, or the accusations that we might hear in some news stories of like the children being taught to be transgender. In my opinion, that's complete nonsense, because if I replace transgender with like gay or lesbian, immediately most people would say that's complete. And based on, you know, my own awareness of some people in society who are just bigots and violent bigots like this incident shows, the fact that this person was so, like, he almost smiled when he learned that this was the gender class. Now, there is a sort of conspiratorial talking point of how the universities are indoctrinating the children and the kids into being transgender or hating, you know, hating traditional values or some nonsense like that. But I've taken this gender class. This class is about seriously looking at like, what is gender based on the cultural, historical, and social context of a society, and asking what should we do, what really are the facts of like how human existence is, and saying what are the, it's all open-ended questions. Like the syllabus of the class is like, what is sex and what is gender? What are the facts of this? Right. And what does this mean for like treatment of other people and political and social policy? Did I expect this to happen? Honestly, a bit. Because just given the you know, the social and political climate of the last few years of like violent right-wing conspiracies spewed through like social media and becoming a talking point even in the mainstream media, I'm not surprised that eventually someone becomes so ideologically deluded that they think that they're doing justice when they attack an instructor and children. Mm-hmm. One thing I want to emphasize is that my classmates are like second and third years. They're like maybe 20, 21. Like these are kids. And
were you afraid for your life?
Yes.
You thought this man could have killed someone?
Yes. He clearly wanted to kill someone.
Oh my God.
Like I heard from my friends, you know, in the cool down period that the university had done some sort of emergency alert test this morning, like the morning yesterday on Wednesday, the day of the attack. However, when the attack happened, there was at least, you know, 20, 40 minutes before the police had arrived. And there was no like campus-wide alert or even just a suggestion, even something saying like, maybe you should leave campus.
Why did you want to talk to me?
Like, I'll be honest, like after we had fled the building and we'd been gathered and were meeting with the wonderful therapists and counselors, mm-hmm. we were asked by the police if we were willing to give interviews to the detectives. And one horrible thing is that because the attack happened in our classroom, a lot of us had left our home keys, our wallets, and our phones in the class. You know, it's our life or our property. Life trumps over that. And the result was a lot of us were just waiting for the police to finish their forensics, because then they would give us the items that were clean of blood. Some students, their belongings were stained with the blood of their classmates and the instructor. So all of us were just shaking, and by the end, maybe like 5 or 6, it was just exhaustion and like dry tears. And so for me, I knew my stuff was at the front of the class, and I thought, I could probably get my stuff. It's not, a piece of evidence for the crime. And eventually one of the officers said, like, they're now willing to let us take some of our items that are clean before addressing the stained with blood items for the students in the back. And honestly, I was just emotionally exhausted. I just wanted to go home. And a bunch of my friends had like come to the building to like take me home. We ended up walking home. And one of my classmates said a reporter from Global News was looking for people from the actual room. And
Wow.
I
Thank
feel
you so much.